Welcome to Licensed Dominant. My dad listens to this. I'm Juliet, the daughter.
And I'm Kevin the dad.
And this week we're talking about Dad's potentially only favorite concept album ever, Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd. So, Dad, what do we need to know?
Well, first off, we need to know that the members of Pink Floyd were Roger Keith Sid Barrett, guitar vocals, born January 6, 1946, Cambridge, England, died July 7th, 2006, Cambridge. Nicholas Barclay Mason, drums, born January 27, 1944, Hampstead, London, England. George Roger Waters, yes, his first name is really George. Bass and vocals, born September 6, 1943, Great Bookham, Surrey, England. And Richard Wright, keyboards, vocals, born July 28, 1943, Hatch End, Middlesex, England, died September 15th, 2008, London, England. And wait, one more. David John Gilmour, guitar, vocals, born March 6, 1946, Cambridge, England. Roger Waters and Nick Mason met in September 1962 while studying architecture at London Polytechnic. They formed a group with fellow students Keith Noble and Clive Metcalf, along with Noble's sister Sheila. Richard Wright, another architecture student, joined a little later. They are a sextet now and call themselves Sigma Six. They went through several name changes before settling on the T-Set. In September 1963, Metcalf and Noble left to form their own band. Guitarist Bob Close joined the band, which led to Waters switching to bass. Sid Barrett, who was a childhood friend of Roger Waters, joined the band. Royal Air Force technician Chris Dennis became the singer, but when the RAF assigned him to Bahrain in 1965, Sid Barrett became the frontman. They became the resident band at the Countdown Club. They would play from late at night to early morning, 3 sets, 90 minutes each. To minimize song repetition, they stretched out their songs with lengthy solos. Bob Close quit in mid-1965, and Sid Barrett took over lead guitar. Now it was Mason, Wright, Waters, and Barrett. In late 65, Barrett changed their name on the spur of the moment when they discovered another band called the T-Set was going to perform at one of their gigs. Now they were the Pink Floyd Sound, named after two blues musicians whose albums Barrett had in his collection, Pinkney Pink Anderson and Floyd Council. Eventually the band would drop the and Sound. They mainly played R&B songs and started getting paid bookings. Peter Jenner saw them at the Marquee Club in London in 1966. He was impressed enough to manage them along with his business partner, Andrew King. They bought the band new instruments and gear and guided Pink Floyd to London's underground scene. They were getting attention in the music industry and eventually signed with EMI. Their first single, Arnold Lane, made number 20 in the UK. Their second, See Emily Play, went to number 6 in the UK. They played on the BBC's Top of the Pops 3 times. The third time, Sid Barrett was starting to unravel, as he was starting to take LSD on a regular basis.
Oh, yeah, that probably didn't help things.
Pink Floyd released their first album, The Piper at the Gates of Dawn, in August 1967. It went to number 6 and spent 14 weeks on the UK charts. Meanwhile, Sid Barrett was getting worse. According to Peter Jenner's assistant, June Child, at one show, I found Barrett in the dressing room and he was so gone. Roger Waters and I got him to his feet and we got him out to the stage. The band started to play and Sid just stood there. He had his guitar around his neck and his arms just hanging down.
Just immobile.
Shows were canceled. At one point, Roger Waters made an appointment for Sid to meet psychiatrist Artie Lang. When Waters drove Barrett to the appointment, Barrett refused to get out of the car. Pink Floyd did go on a U.S. tour, but it was cut short due to Barrett's behavior. In December 1967, the band hired guitarist David Gilmour to cover for Barrett.
David Gilmour. It's like a Simpsons parody version.
Gilmour had studied with Barrett in Cambridge in the early 60s, and the two hitchhiked and busked their way around the south of France. Barrett would now be the band's non-performing songwriter, but working with him proved to still be difficult. For one performance, the band decided to play without him, and that was the beginning of the end. In March 1968, Pink Floyd met with Peter Jenner and Andrew King to discuss the band's future. Sid Barrett agreed to leave. Jenner and King left as well, believing Sid Barrett was the creative genius and they would represent him. Steve O'Rourke became Pink Floyd's manager from 1968 until his death in 2003, and Sid eventually did release 2 solo albums, Barrett and The Madcap Laughs.
Any good?
Don't know.
Huh.
For their second album, A Saucerful of Secrets, Abbey Road producer Norman Smith encouraged them to start self-producing their own music. He taught the band how to use the recording studio. Smith produced Saucerful. Roger Waters started coming into his own as a songwriter, and Rick Wright composed songs as well. They then recorded the soundtrack album More. For the band's next album, Ummagumma, yes,
Okay.
Pink Floyd produced, along with Norman Smith. It was a 2-record set. The first LP was live, while the second was more experimental. Adam Hart Mother came out in 1970, which has probably one of your mom's favorite album covers ever. It's a picture of a cow.
Oh.
Yeah.
For context, my mother hates cows.
Yes. Meddle came out in 1971, Meddle, and Obscured by Clouds in 1972. These albums did extremely well in the UK, hitting the top 10 on the album charts, with Adam Hart Mother going to number 1. Meanwhile, in the US, on Billboard's 200 albums chart, these albums started in the low 100s.
That sounds about right.
But with Ummagumma, Pink Floyd started making the top 100. In the case of Obscured by Clouds, the top 50. So they're rising on up. And then Dark Side of the Moon.
There it is.
Yep. They worked with engineer Alan Parsons between May 1972 and January 1973.
That Alan Parsons?
That Alan Parsons.
Wow.
It was released in March 73 and was an insane success. It hit number 1 in the US on Billboard's 200 albums chart and remained on that chart for over 14 years.
Whoa.
It sold 45 million copies worldwide, tying it with the Bodyguard soundtrack as the 3rd best-selling album of all time.
That's wow. Okay, you could have said any album, and I still wouldn't have guessed the Bodyguard soundtrack with Whitney Houston.
Me neither.
Huh.
Michael Jackson's Thriller is still number 1, and AC/DC's Black in Black is still number 2.
Okay, those make sense.
So at this point, Pink Floyd is just like rolling in dough. It allowed them to leave Capitol Records because they weren't too thrilled with that label, and they were the U.S. distributor. In the U.K., their label was Harvest, and they ended up signing with Columbia Records. Their next album, Wish You Were Here, came out in 1975 and hit number 1 in the United States. More on Wish You Were Here later. Animals came out in 1977 and hit number 3. The double album set, The Wall, came out in 1979
There
and
it is.
went to number 1. Then,
Trablush.
yep,
Here we go.
the band felt Rick Wright hadn't contributed anything to The Wall and basically told him, we can do this the hard way or the easy way.
Which way did he choose?
He chose the easy way. He left.
Oh.
But,
What?
get this, he returned as a paid musician for the Wall tour. As such, he was the only band member to profit from the tour, which lost $600,000 or $2.1 million in today's money.
Oh, man.
Yep.
Oof.
There was also a movie, Pink Floyd, The Wall,
Wall, yeah.
which came out in 1982, and I think that wound up just becoming a midnight movie, and no, I never saw it.
Okay.
I've seen bits and pieces, and it's one of those things like, yeah, this makes no sense at all.
Okay.
And I think even if I was chemically altered, it would still make no sense at all. Anyway, their final album, The Final Cut, came out in 1983, which is kind of looked on as more of like a Roger Waters solo album. And also by this time, Waters and Gilmour were working separately. Michael Kamen, who had contributed orchestral arrangements to The Wall, had to play mediator between them,
Uh-oh.
which was a role Rick Wright always took on when things got tense.
David, would you please tell Roger I said this?
Yeah,
Please,
that kind of
please
thing.
tell Roger I said the da-da-da-da. Yeah.
Yeah. In 1984, Roger Waters put out his first solo album, The Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking. Gilmour put out his second solo album, About Face. His first solo album, which was self-titled, came out in 1978. Waters, Gilmour, Mason, and manager Steve O'Rourke met for dinner to discuss the band's future. When it was over, Waters left thinking Pink Floyd was done. Mason and Gilmour left thinking Pink Floyd was still a band.
Oh, no. You gotta communicate better, fellas.
Waters publicly insisted Pink Floyd would not reunite. He contacted Steve O'Rourke about settling future royalty payments. O'Rourke informed Gilmour and Mason of this, which led Roger Waters to becoming angry, and he terminated his management contract with O'Rourke. Legal battles ensued, with Waters going to court to dissolve the band and prevent use of the Pink Floyd name, and that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Gilmore, Mason, and Rick Wright continued as Pink Floyd, putting out A Momentary Lapse of Reason in 1987 and A Division Bell in 1994. Someone out there bought those albums as Lapse went to number 3 in the US and Division went to number 1.
Mm.
Pink Floyd was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1996.
Did they all show up?
Roger Waters did not show up due to the ongoing feud, and Syd Barrett did not show up because he was living in seclusion.
Yeah.
Pink Floyd reunited in July of 2005 for the Live 8 benefit concert in Hyde Park.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Syd Barrett died July 7th, 2006 of pancreatic cancer.
Oof.
Rick Wright died of lung cancer on September 15th, 2008. In 2014, Gilmore and Mason, as Pink Floyd, released The Endless River as a tribute to Rick Wright. It hit number 3 on Billboard's 200 Albums chart. In October 2024, Pink Floyd sold their catalog to Sony Music for $400 million.
Okay.
Yep. As for me, once again, I came late to the game. I'd always been aware of Pink Floyd and heard their songs on basically classic rock radio, mostly HJY, but for a while, BIU was playing that stuff as well. I didn't buy Dark Side of the Moon until 1992 because there was a nice little 20th anniversary box, which I still have.
Nice.
So for me, it's like when I always come late to the party, it's like, to me, this stuff is new, and I've learned, do not play this stuff a lot or you will become sick of it, as everyone else probably is who's heard this since like the 70s or more.
Okay.
Stoned or even not stoned. Anyway, I ended up getting the 2011 remaster of Dark Side of the Moon, and it was like someone took the earmuffs off my ears.
Whoa.
Yeah, the sound is just incredible. I got the 1997 remaster of The Wall and also Wish You Were Here, and I borrowed the 2011 remasters from the library, but I just could not tell the difference between those and the 1997 version, so I didn't bother. As for Wish You Were Here, the band had a hard time coming up with a follow-up to Dark Side of the Moon. They really didn't know what they wanted to do. They sketched out some songs called Raving and Drooling, You've Got to Be Crazy, and Shine On You Crazy Diamond.
Well, we know which one made the cut.
Waters thought Shine On would work for his album concept, while the other 2 songs were just set aside. Shine On was 20 plus minutes long.
Yep.
Waters wanted to split it and insert 3 songs between the 2 parts. David Gilmour objected. He wanted it to be like just on one side and have the other 3 songs be on.
Side. Okay.
But he was outvoted 3-1.
Ah.
That's a democracy for you. While they were doing the final mix of Shine On, an overweight man with shaved head and eyebrows entered the studio.
Okay.
No one knew who it was.
It was Sid?
They assumed it was an EMI staffer or maybe a friend of Waters. Then Rick Wright realized it was Syd Barrett.
I knew it.
Barrett had been by the Hypnosis design studio earlier, who had designed their album covers, and asked where the band was recording. He was directed to Abbey Road. Roger Waters cried and things were really awkward. Barrett's conversation didn't make much sense, and while listening to Shine On, he had no idea it was about him.
Ooh.
Barrett did attend David Gilmour's wedding reception, but left unnoticed. And aside from Waters seeing Barrett at Harrods a couple of years later, it was the last time any band member saw Syd Barrett alive.
Holy shit.
As for the cover, 2 stuntmen were used. It's 2 businessmen shaking hands with one of them on fire. Getting burned was a music industry phrase for artists who were denied royalty payments. Stuntman Ronnie Rondell Jr. wore a fireproof suit covered by a business suit. He also wore a fireproof wig, and fire-resistant gel was applied to him. Now, this is per Wikipedia, quote, while the first 14 takes were successful,
Why didn't they stop?
Rondell suffered minor burns when the wind changed direction on the 15th, singeing his mustache. The 2 stuntmen changed positions, and the image was later reversed. George Hardy designed the logo of the 2 robots shaking hands. There's also a faceless salesman with no wrists or ankles, because he's an empty suit. There's also a photo inside of a veil concealing a nude woman in a windswept grove, and I've looked really, really, really hard at that veil, and I cannot see a person in there for the life of me.
Okay.
I've tried really hard too. There's also a splashless diver at Mono Lake in California, and there's a photo of a swimmer trying to swim through sand, which is my favorite photo.
Hmm.
The album was released on September 12th, 1975 in the UK and a day later in the US. It hit #1 in both countries. Reviews were mixed, but looking back, it's believed that the critical disappointment was due to the monumental expectations of following up Dark Side of the Moon.
Uh,
Everyone was expecting Dark Side Part 2, and they didn't get it.
uh-huh.
All 4 members have cited Wish You Were Here as their favorite Pink Floyd album. But how do we feel about it?
Let's
Let's find
find out.
out.
Okay, first track, even though it's multiple, Shine On You Crazy Diamond, parts 1 through 5. First, I want to thank Genius Lyrics for timestamping exactly when parts 1 through 5 start and end, so I'm going to break down my review of this track in a similar way. Part 1. We start with synths playing very quietly and crescendoing to what I think is fair to say a medium volume. Then they make a sound that conjures images of twinkling stars. A flute joins in sounding very mournful, and then a guitar joins in to replace the flute. I don't know if it's playing the same notes or chords, but the key is the same. At one point, I thought I heard a marimba, or maybe a trombone, or maybe a sitar, but then I realized those are the sounds of the flute and guitar blending in with the synth. Sounds like we have someone calling out from beyond while someone replies, I miss you. Part 2. Synths are still there, but now we have a different, harsher sounding electric guitar accompanied by some faint chimes. This electric guitar is taking up space in a way the previous guitar was not. The same notes are played, and at times it sounds very bluesy to express what I view as pain or sadness. Then the drums join in, and the bass and keyboard make their presence known shortly after that. To me, this is the band saying, without you, this is who we are now, and this is what we sound like. Part 3. The synths here are reminiscent of a Beatles album to my ears, and then the guitar comes in blaring and loud, taking center stage and once again taking up space. Part 4. Now we get the backstory. This is the tribute to their friend who had to step away. They remember him fondly, but they also see him for all of who he was and is. But their message is loving. Whatever you do, do it well, and we still love you. Very heartwarming, and just goes to show platonic love between friends is still a strong force on earth, the same way romantic love is too. Finally, part 5. Aw yeah, saxophone time. The saxophone player goes off with some drums and synths. And they just go off, there's no other way to describe the solo. Probably carrying on the passion from the previous track. It sucked me out of the tribute to Sid just a tad, because I feel like I've been transported to a really cool jazz club, possibly in outer space, but I'm still having a good time. And they just let the saxophone player do his thing as they gradually fade out. Overall, these 5 tracks weave together a good story of emotions that got me very emotionally invested.
Okay. So even though it's in 5 parts, Pink Floyd have never specified those parts precisely.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, so I'm thinking maybe it's some sort of art rock pretension. We have parts 1 through 5. But I think it's up to the listener. And I
Yeah,
did go online, and people have different theories as to when the 5 parts begin and end. Um, they almost kind of seem to be going by the solos by Rick Wright on keyboards and David Gilmour
I
on
think that's
guitar,
I think that's a fair way to guess.
Roger Waters lyrics, and then Dick Parry on the saxophone. And again, I think it's what you, the listener, thinks it is. I mean, I always thought, to me, the parts didn't mean anything. It's just always been one long piece to me. But after like really listening to it closely, like I said, okay, it seems to be everyone's getting a turn, and that's what makes up the 5 parts. Who knows?
Hmm.
Anyway, so this is my take on it. It starts off with a fade in of a chord that remains mostly consistent throughout the song.
Hmm.
Then another keyboard comes in and starts the solo, and it almost sounds like a horn. And then David Gilmour comes in around the 2 minute, 10 second mark, playing a blues type of guitar solo. And after his solo, Gilmour starts playing the 4 very distinct notes known as Sid's theme. Down, 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 down.
Hmm.
Anyway, the keyboard sounds start getting quieter to emphasize Sid's theme, and Gilmour plays it 4 times. Then Nick Mason comes thumping in on the drums, building up, and he hits the crash, and Roger Waters' bass comes in, and we've got a real song going.
Hmm.
He's actually swinging on the drums here. Gilmour solos yet again, and Rick Wright goes solo again. Then Gilmour solos again. And then Roger Waters starts singing the lyrics around the 8-minute 43 mark. He sings to Syd Barrett, quote, "Remember when you were young, you shone like the sun? Now there's a look in your eyes like black holes in the sky," unquote.
Mm,
And he also sings, "You were caught in the crossfire of childhood and stardom." And later, "Well, you wore out your welcome with random precision."
yeah.
And through it all, Waters urges Barrett to shine. After that, Dick Parry comes in with a baritone sax solo. And then when he starts his tenor sax solo, the music doubles in tempo.
Hmm.
As the music fades out, a machine-like hum comes in, which is the start of Welcome to the Machine.
Yes.
And I gotta say, the first time I ever heard Shine on headphones, it just like freaked me out. I'm like, whoa,
It's a cool
what
experience
is
on
what is
headphones.
this? So
Yeah.
well played, Floydsters, well played. And I gotta say, after writing all this, I kind of have to agree with Elvis Costello that writing about music is like dancing about architecture. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's really
you
hard.
try to come as close as you possibly can, but it's really, you've got to be able to hear it for yourself.
You
You
gotta
just,
listen to it. Yep.
yeah.
Next track, Welcome to the Machine.
Hey, great to be here.
So at first, there's some faint white noise in the background. It actually sounds like the HVAC in my apartment. And then we get a buzz that blasts through like an alarm. And it reminded me of the buzzer Wallace used to use when he would call Gromit downstairs for breakfast.
Oh, yeah.
Then we have what sounds like a fan, either from a heavy duty box fan or a turbine circling at fast speed. Then all the sounds of machinery come together to create a groove until we get a sound I can only describe as wub 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 wub. It's a decent paced tempo, and then we get an acoustic guitar plus some more synths. Is it David who's singing on this? Because I want to get the name right.
Both Roger Waters and David Gilmour sing lead vocals.
Okay, so the lead vocalist starts singing, and the voice sounds cold, emotionally detached, like a machine with no programming to socialize with humans. Genius Lyrics interprets this song one of two ways. One, Pink Floyd's disgust with the music industry, or two, a dystopia where our futures are shaped by machines. I look at it a different way. In my opinion, all of contemporary history has been shaped by the Industrial Revolution. People became cogs in the factory machine to produce product after product. And if you were not fortunate enough in Britain to be born in the aristocracy, you had to work for a living. That was the expectation. You're going to work, provide for your family, and that's it. But they're saying Sid, or maybe in this case a young nameless musician, since Sid went on to make his own art,
I call him Son.
said, no, screw that, I'm going to play my guitar and make music. But eventually, the machine that's been chugging along for centuries finally catches up with him after he's worn down, and now he finally surrenders. And the song ends with a thud, like someone collapsing to the ground now that he can't fight it anymore. So maybe this song was also a warning for Sid to not give up on making art now that he could no longer be in the band. Otherwise, the machine might find him, chew him up, and spit him out. And how does the song end? With an air raid siren, another thud, and a loud crowd of people talking. Maybe the band is trying to sound the alarm on the harm the machine is doing to their friend, but everyone is so desensitized to it, they just go on about their day, and the dead body continues to just lie on the floor.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good theory. I like that.
Thanks.
So this starts off very effects driven with keyboards making all sorts of sounds. Then an acoustic guitar comes in. And like I said before, both Roger Waters and David Gilmour sing lead vocals on this song, though Waters' vocals are pushed to the front a little more than David Gilmour's.
Mm.
The machine seems to be the music industry. An exec says, "Welcome, my son, welcome to the machine." Then he asks, "Where have you been?" Then says, "It's all right, we know where you've been." In the pipeline, a music industry limbo from the sounds of it, just filling in time with toys and a Boy Scout manual. He later asks, "What did you dream?" And then he answers, "It's all right, we told you what to dream." Of a big star who played mean guitar, ate in the steak bar. Steak. Drove a Jaguar. It seems like Son is being told, this is what you'll write about and this is what you'll perform. He's in the machine, and if he wants to survive, he has to do what the machine's operators tell him. This is pretty much Rick Wright's show because there's like tons of keyboards and synthesizers on this. Nick Mason does show up to contribute some timpani, but you kind of got to listen closely. It ends with what I think sounds like Son being dropped off at a party and good luck dealing with all the hangers-on who are there. And thus endeth side one.
Okay, kids, time to turn the record over. Next track, Have a Cigar. My first note, why, did someone have a baby? I can imagine that opening being played at a cigar lounge. Side note, I went to one cigar lounge once to support my co-star Jack at a gig, and boy did my clothes reek afterwards.
Huh.
But the music here has that vibe of hazy coolness, like you stepped into a dark adult world and now you're one of the club. Then the lyrics go on, and you realize this is a suit from the music industry, being a total suck up to the band, and then ruining it with their ignorance, as shown by my favorite lyric, oh, by the way, which one's pink? But they don't care about that, because what's their goal? Capitalizing on success, because they're so happy they can hardly count the money coming in, and they want to keep it that way. I interpret the rest of the song to mean the following. The undercurrent of entering another world is still there, but the lead guitar player starts shredding, as if to say, whatever, screw you, I'm just going to play my music. While you guys care about the money, I'm going to make my art because I'm great at it. But then there's a musical sweeping noise, and we hear the guitar playing from very far away, like you might hear in a control room in the studio. And I think that's to say to Pink Floyd, their music sounds like music, but to the suits who don't care, it just sounds like noise, and they can't fully appreciate or see what Pink Floyd is trying to do with how they play, because they only see it from one side of the booth and only care about it making bank.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Roger Waters wrote this about hypocrisy and greed in the music industry. And it's being sung by a smarmy record executive as he sings, well, I've always had a deep respect, and I mean that most sincerely. The band is just fantastic. That is what I really think. Oh, by the way, which one's pink? Which actually happened to the band a number of times.
No.
Yes.
Aww.
Because people thought Pink Floyd was the name of the singer.
Yeah.
And that led me to wonder, too bad that Pink and Pink Floyd never teamed up.
Yeah, that would be an interesting combination.
It would be.
Pink flying through the air while you have like the visuals from the wall in the background. That'd be trippy.
So then the exec tells the band that their next album could be a monster with the old, if we pull together as a team. Barf. Well, because, that was the thing that they were getting, like, okay, you just made us all this money in the world with Dark Side of the Moon. You're going to give us part 2, right? Yeah. Anyway, Roger Waters did not sing on this, as he did not think he could sing.
Oh, I think he's fine. He's not a full-blown singer, but he doesn't sound awful.
Well,
either.
he never was really happy with his voice.
Oh, I can understand.
But it was kind of like someone had to do it. David Gilmour was unwilling to sing it, as he really didn't share Waters' opinions of the music industry.
Interesting, okay.
Folk rock singer Roy Harper was recording his own album at Abbey Road at the same time that Pink Floyd was recording Wish You Were Here.
And they're like, hey, you want to come sing this song?
Yeah. Years later, Waters would say he disliked Harper's version.
Well, then what the hell?
He wanted something more vulnerable, less cynical, which I thought, but David Gilmour called it the perfect vision. As for me, I think Harper nailed it, because, I just can't think of it being vulnerable and less cynical. Especially with those lyrics, he just nailed it.
Oh, God.
And then, oh, no, go ahead.
Well, you know what? I think he's... Have you seen the original Muppet movie?
What's that?
Have you seen the first Muppet movie?
Oh, it's been a long time, but yeah.
Do you remember how Orson Welles has a cameo at the end where he asks them to get the Muppets the standard rich and famous contract?
Vaguely, yeah.
Yeah, this is like a jaded version of that. Anyway, keep going.
And then...
Published?
Oh, yeah, per Wikipedia.
What?
In a 2011 video interview with John Edgington, Roy Harper said that he was unhappy he had not been credited by the band for singing the song, quote, for the first 10 or 15 years, unquote.
He wasn't.
After it came out. But, nowadays, he does get the credit. Now,
yeah.
He also said he was not paid the agreed payment, which was he wanted tickets for life to Lord's cricket grounds.
Why did he think he could get that?
Because he knew it was going to sell a bajillion copies.
Oh, okay.
But he received a few $100 instead. Harper had to hire a lawyer to resolve this grievance, which he called ironic, and said it made the song into a self-fulfilling prophecy by turning the collaboration among friends into, quote, the dirty music business,
so,
unquote.
Did he win or did he lose?
That's a good quote. Well, it says it was resolved, but it didn't go into specifics as to if he got the tickets or...
If he got the money equivalent for tickets for life?
Yeah. But I think, hey, you know what? Lifetime ticket pass to go see cricket. What the heck?
He could have asked for worse.
Yeah. Now, musically, I find it to be the most straight-ahead rock song on here because it just starts, which kind of makes sense since it's the first song on side 2. But but I mean like it doesn't fade in like Shine On You Crazy Diamond does on the first side.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then at the end there's a guitar solo, and then that swirling synthesizer effect kind of reduces the volume almost to like a radio level.
Mm.
Because then you start hearing the dial changing to the transition of where you were here, like you
Wish
hear
you were
like,
here. Yep.
yep, what did I say?
Where you were here.
Where you were here? Were you here? I wasn't here. Wish
Was
you
you
were here.
here?
Sorry. Uh, anyway, next.
Wish you were here. We transitioned from the previous track to someone tuning a radio to get the right station, scrolling through what sounds like an orchestra, then two people talking, which reminded me of the Nichols and May sketch where they're talking to each other about chewing over classical music.
Oh, yes.
Then the classical comes back on, and then the rock playing through the crackle of pop and pop of radio static, which is then followed by someone trying to clear their sinuses and a sniffle and some breathing.
That's David Gilmour. Yeah.
Okay.
He was kind of embarrassed about that, but.
And they're like, nah, screw it, we're keeping it. But then the electric guitar and acoustic guitar duet each other beautifully before acoustic takes over. This song can be summed up as, we know you did what's best for you, but we still really miss you. I think if you read the Genius Lyrics interpretation of the lyric, it seems rather cold with how they're telling Sid he made a mistake by leaving. But I think it shows how lonely you can be when a friend steps out of your life in a major way. I don't think the music would sound as loving as it does if they were absolutely furious and pissed off with Sid. And maybe they're worried Sid will experience his same old pain in his new life, now that they're facing the same old fears now that they're successful. But the breeze flows away the music as if to say their pleas will fall on deaf ears and be gone with the wind. They miss their friend, but I hope their concern came from a loving place and not a bitter place, and that Sid knew it was loving too.
Okay, you'd think this song would be about Sid Barrett.
It's not?
I always thought it was about Sid Barrett.
Oh, well, then what the hell did I go
David
off
Gilmour
on?
thought it was about Sid Barrett.
And Roger said it's not about Sid Barrett?
He said he wrote it about himself.
What the Okay.
Like about trying to be present in one's own life.
Okay.
Okay.
You know what? I'm gonna say it.
Are you going to allow it?
No, I'm gonna make up my own headcanon that it's about Sid.
Okay.
I'm
yeah.
gonna separate the art from the artist, or do the death of the artist here and create my own meaning.
Because David Gilmour said he always thinks about Sid Barrett every time he plays the song.
What else would you think
And
about anyway, knowing the backstory?
Plus, he also sang the lead vocal. So I guess it's open to interpretation, I guess. But Roger Waters, sorry, guy, you're wrong.
Well, is that what distinguishes art rock? In that the same way there are abstract paintings, it's meant to be interpreted by you as the listener?
I suppose, and it's going to be long, and it has pretensions of being like, this is art with a capital A. Like, if you have to come out and tell someone that what you're making is art, maybe it's
Not?
I don't know. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, the song starts off by coming through a radio, and then a full sounding acoustic guitar comes in, and that sound change just always gets me. It builds and the radio fades out and the rest of the band joins in. Now, French violinist Stéphane Grappelli played on the track, but during the mixing, it was decided to remove his contribution, but he still got paid though.
Mm-hmm.
The song ends with Howling Wind, which segues into the second and final half of Shine On, You Crazy Diamond.
Shine On You Crazy Diamond, parts 6 through 9. Part 6. The breeze takes us into a solo where the synth sounds like part guitar, part trumpet, and also part keytar. Can you hear it?
Very, very Senior Chang.
A groove strumming to a dramatic background. Then the electric guitar kicks in, and the groove gets a little more oomph, and it keeps on rocking from there on out. At one point, the guitar and synth seem to be screaming together in unison, and it's super cool. My eyes were popping out of my head like, holy shit, are they doing that? Yeah, they are. Part 7. I'm assuming Nobody Knows Where You Are refers to the fans, because I assumed that the band was still in contact with him and they could easily ring him up on the phone. Now I know that's not the case. But it's a reprise saying, this is the choice you made, so whatever you do, do it well. Even if we don't agree with it and still feel saddened by it, we still love you. Part 8. Now we have a groovy jam session. The only time it feels like rock is when that sustained high-pitched chord slides into place and starts playing. This is something I could easily hear playing at Murmur Hi-Fi in Providence if they played more than just jazz. No shade to Murmur Hi-Fi, though. I love that place. Just pure vibes to bob along to that I dig. Finally, part 9. Well, the album's over. I picture the last section here like them ascending into space, E.T. ascending into the sky, and all the kids are crying. But make it jazzy. Or a sad farewell to their friend as they leave him behind on Earth while the band ascends into rock history. But the flute is calling out a final sweet melancholy melody. Very well orchestrated.
hmm So the howling wind that started on Wish You Were Here continues on Shine On parts 6 through 9, or parts VI through IX. Um, so the wind continues, and then a 2-note bass pattern starts, and it gets louder each time it's played. And David Gilmour starts playing several guitar parts, and Rick Wright comes in with a very powerful synthesizer solo.
Mm-hmm.
The bass and drums start getting funky. Gilmour solos again, then slows down into the Shine On You Crazy Diamond chorus from the first half on side 1. Roger Waters starts singing pretty much the same sentiment as from the first half. It then ends with the lines, "Come on, you boy child, you winner and loser. Come on, you miner for truth and delusion and sign." Then David Gilmour plays a guitar arpeggio, which I had to look that up. And then the band gets funky. Because you think Pink Floyd?
And funk?
Funk?
Yeah.
Forget about it.
But it
No way.
works.
But it kind of reminded me of, especially when Rick Wright starts playing the clavinet, it kind of reminded me of some of Miles Davis's stuff without the horn.
Huh.
Yeah, so I mean, they've got it going on for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, they sustain it really well.
Yeah, and then the funk fades away after a few minutes and switches to what David Gilmour called a funeral march, and I can
I
kind
could hear that,
yeah. And this section is pretty much Rick Wright's, because again, lots of keyboards. And the drum and bass eventually stop, and it's just all keyboards for the last minute of the song. And it ends with Wright playing a fragment from Syd Barrett's Pink Floyd song, See Emily Play.
Mm.
Now, over the years, Shine On You Crazy Diamond has shown up on like box sets and 2-disc anthologies and what have you in like different forms, but it was finally presented as a single continuous track, all 25 minutes of it, on the second disc of the 2-disc 50th anniversary edition of Which You Were Here that came out in December of 2025.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
I don't think I need that though, because I like how I think Roger Waters called it just like, let's split this in 2 halves
Make
and
it
have those.
bookends.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just can't imagine it as having that all Shine On all on side 1
Mhm.
and then having the 3 songs on side 2. I think he and Mason and Wright made the right call. Sorry, Mr. Gilmour.
I'm gonna swear here for this first sentence.
Go ahead.
Overall, this album fucks. It's a good thing. Pure vibes. I saved the album, but here's the thing. You know how you listen to it sporadically so you don't get sick of it?
Yeah.
I think I have to figure out for me what the ideal mood is for Pink Floyd music.
Oh, it just, for me, it just
It-
comes up. It's like, yeah, I think I need to listen to that.
Well, you know what I realized? This is gonna sound weird. I put it on while I was cooking dinner last week
Huh.
and just let the vibes wash over me.
Was you cooking marijuana brownies?
No, I was making shrimp and rice. Now, is this a good tribute to Sid? I would say, if it fits their friendship and he liked it, sure. Should concept albums exist? I'm going to toss that question over to you afterwards. And here's the thing. I'd say yes, because without them, we wouldn't have this, and I like this album a lot. So there.
Well, the only thing worse than one concept album is 2 concept albums.
Yeah, I'm gonna post that video of you talking about concept albums on Instagram where you pull out "Wish You Were Here" by Pink Floyd as your favorite.
Okay.
Yep.
And yeah, I'm gonna go out and say it. I love this album, and I think it's because the concept or tribute, if you will, it holds together. Because a lot of concept albums, they kind of start off and then they lose the thread and they don't bother picking it up.
What if
Where-
we did music, but on the moon? Whoa!
Yeah,
I mean, I'm just trying to think of
but at
something
least
bonkers.
this is consistent. And I say if you can only have one Pink Floyd album in your collection, it should be Wish You Were Here. Yeah, not Dark Side of the Moon. Come and get me, stoners. If you can, like, get up off the couch.
And if you can pause The Wizard of Oz long enough. All right, after that smart-ass comment, thank you for listening to the latest installment of My Dad Listens to This. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Remember, the more you interact with the video, the greater chance we have of appearing on the YouTube homepage. If you follow me on social media, I post the episodes there. If you're friends with Dad, tell him what you want to listen to, and he can send an email right to your inbox. As always, thank you for listening to the latest installment of My Dad Listens to This. We will be back next time with another album to pick and gripe about. Anything you want to say before we sign off?
Yes, to paraphrase Captain Kirk at the end of Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, of all the Pink Floyd albums I've heard, Wish You Were Here is their most human.